I hope I'm finding everyone in a good mood, whatever mood it is, because we're going to go exactly into the moods that we are feeling and what that means in art. So we're going to dive into emotions and colors. We're going to pick an object from a magazine, a book, a movie, a poster, whatever that we feel connected to. And we're going to recolor it with the emotion that we feel what we want to express. Now, a lot of these emotions, they're really, really potent. When you feel betrayed by a friend, or frustrated that you're not getting a good grade, or you feel really happy because someone surprised you with a birthday gift or something, whatever it may be. A lot of these emotions we feel on day-to-day basis, on special occasions, they're important, and it's a good thing to reflect on them and express them through art. So let's take this opportunity to do that. And these are a couple of the tools that we need. We need color pencils. We need a thick Sharpie, like that. A Micron pen. It's like a really thin tip. If you can't find microns, you could try to find a thin point Sharpie. And we need a 2H pencil and a 2B pencil. And lastly, we need mixed media paper, or whatever thick paper, cardstock, something that won't let the Sharpie bleed through. So let's get into it. Before we start coloring or drawing, we need to find a prop or an animal or whatever it may be that resonates with our emotion. So this is James Gurney's Dinotopia. He's a prolific painter, world builder, and artist. If you look at this specific page, we have a lot of pine cones, all this flora. And if you're fond of flora and fauna and world development and world building, this is a perfect prime example book of what you could be looking for. Our emotions, when we connect them to objects, they give that object meaning, and we could show this meaning through our project. So finding books that have a lot of variation, a lot of options for us to look at. Picture books, magazines are great. So for myself, I'm going to be using the book, The Art of Zootopia. I am a huge fan of animation and the shapes that they use in this type of style. And the specific object I'm going to be working on and demoing is this beet. And I'll get into why I chose this beet. So we're going to dive into emotions. We're going to find something that's important to us. Doesn't have to be super important, but it has to have an emotion that triggers us inside. So for example, me, whenever I get or look for a salad, I have to make sure there's beets in it because I love like cold, they're chilled, whether they're pickled, whatever it may be, I love beets. They're great. So there we got it. We got one. I'm excited and I'm looking forward to eating beets, right? Now that we have the beet as an object, I'm going to show you how to sketch this, and I'm going to put the image to our left, at the top left right here. And right now I'm using a 2B pencil, but you'll be using a 2H pencil. So each shape that we see can be simplified into a basic shape. That stem could be a triangle, the body can be a circle, and that little root poking out to the right could be a triangle. And we have all these small circles and a big oval for the cast shadow. And we really want to first create these basic shapes before we complicate them. Now that we have these basic shapes, I'm going to go ahead and use my 2H pencil so we could have a light line, easy to erase. And as I draw these basic shapes again, I want to touch on the process of drawing. If you can't get the shapes right, that's okay. We will keep drawing, keep trying to make these adjustments. And this process takes a while to master and get better at. So let's just take it slow. And remember that, practice, consistent practice is all we need. So now I'm using a 2B pencil. And I'm going to start to complicate these shapes. I'm looking at the big main shape of the leaf, and I'm making it taper down. And now I'm going to look at the body of the beat. And I'm taking a look at the basic shapes and how we can start to break them down into smaller shapes. And this is key. The idea of getting bigger shapes and breaking them down to smaller bite-sized shapes so we could have some continuity with the proportion and the different and small shapes around. So you could see that I'm not perfectly drawing on or within the shapes that I previously drawn, and this is okay. They're mainly guidelines for me. What I'm really worried about is the complicated areas of the beat where it's cut and the shape of the stem. So this is our basic shape. We complicate. And now we could start to ink. And for our inking, we're going to be using a thick Sharpie and also a thin. We look at this thick Sharpie, makes a really thick line. And here is a Micron pen. It makes a very thin line. So we're using these two variations of line thickness to outline our prop. So I'm going to be using the big Sharpie to outline the main shape that we're going to be looking at, which is the beat. The whole beat will be outlined in this really, really thick Sharpie. And as I'm drawing, I'm carefully going on the edge of the shapes and following the outline. And there's some areas where they overlap, so I'm just going to put a little bit more weight to that part, which is near the stem. Now I'm using the smaller Micron pen, and I'm making the lines inside of the beat thinner. And some areas are going to be overlapping, and I'm just going to create more thickness, more pen marks on those areas to just show that they overlap. Right. Now I'm looking at the external objects like this puddle, and I'm using the small Micron pen again to outline those shapes. Reason why I'm using a small instead of a big Sharpie, a thick Sharpie, is because these are not really that important details. The main star of the show is the beat. So here we have it. And now after we've done sharpening, we could start erasing all the pencil marks that we made. So as I'm cleaning up these lines and erasing all these pencil marks, we're going to start to dive in to some color theory. How do emotions connect to colors? So let's look at the movie Up. This image right here is two characters. They're in love. They're having fun. There's a lot of color. High saturation. And when I say saturation, it's how much color is shown. And then in this scene, this next scene, it's the same couple, but one of them is getting sick, right? And this was a heartbreaking scene. This whole segment. So she eventually passes away, right? We have less saturation in the scene. She's sick. We could tell, sobbing. And then let's look at this scene next. There is an absence of color. It's mainly browns and grays. We no longer see those bright pink, yellow, green, high saturated colors. It's all gone. And a lot of studios, film, animation, they use saturation as a way to convey emotion. More color equals more intense emotions, usually whether it's happy, excited, love. And an absence of color can also mean sadness, loss. This is a good starting point for us to look at emotion. Now we're going to look at this color wheel. The way we're going to color our object is through what in color theory we call an analogous color palette. And we're going to use a fourth of a color wheel and the colors within that. So for my drawing, I'm going to be using the top right section. So from red all the way to yellow. And this warm color palette goes well with my feeling of comforting food. So I'm going with this. Now, with the colors we have chosen, I'm going to show you how to color these in. First, we need a range of dark, mediums, and lights. I have 2 darks, 2 mediums, and 2 lights. The darks are going to be red, mediums are going to be orange, and the lights are going to be different variations of yellow. Now with the different variations, I'm going to pinpoint the lightest section of this drawing. The stem is the most lightest object, so I'm putting in my lightest yellow throughout the whole object. Second lightest color is the beet juice puddle. I'm putting my second lightest yellow into that area as well. Now, as I get all these areas filled up, I'm going to focus on complicating the hues of these yellows. So I'm going in with the stem with our next step darker from the lights, which is our orange. Then I'm going in to the beet to get it that next step darker of orange, because the beet is the third darkest object in this object. Then I'm darkening up my puddle, and I'm using that same orange I used on the beet. And I'm just establishing the color variations that these 3 different objects are going to have. Now I'm further increasing the saturation and darkness of each object. I'm going in with some of the red, getting the beet even more red like we see in the reference. And I'm making the puddle have that same type of redness. And when you're working on your own reference and image, try to look for the relationships of each section of how light and dark they are. And keep building up your darks slowly and slowly until they resemble the depth of value that your reference have. Now I'm just going on and developing the darks even more. Now with this black colored pencil, I am starting to bring out some of the details of the stem, and I'm cross-hatching to create some depth into this object. And I'm creating more details of the root and some blemishes to give it more character. And I'm developing more depth by increasing the value. And when I say value, I mean the darkness and lightness of an object. And I'm building up the dark values to show form. I'm using a lot of cross-hatching, which is going in one direction and then going the other direction to create an area that is darker than another. And I'm going through and filling in by shading, not cross-hatching this time, to create a nice soft shadow underneath the bead, underneath the puddles, underneath the stem, and the objects in the stem. Now for a recap, we draw, we create our shape's basic forms from regular triangles, squares, circles. Then we start to complicate them. We create our color palette, and we slowly build up the lights to the darks.